Welcome everyone back to the Pommy and Oz channel. I hope you all are doing really well. We're here again with another preview of a game. This time we are over in Mount Barker to analyse the Adelaide versus the Port Adelaide game. A lot to take out from this. Heavily changed teams as well in the latter portion in the fourth quarter, but a lot of promise from both sides that in Port's case were quite new look, and in Adelaide's case it's about answering the questions of why last year wasn't as good as we anticipated. So let's run that intro and get straight into it. From the opening bounce, one of the real big standouts here was Adelaide looked like a sharp side. They really did look like they were moving the ball clean with some direction, but also some efficiency. And they really did have the scoreboard pressure. Their movement was incredibly clean, but very ruthlessly efficient. And it allowed them to really open up Port at will in the first half. So Soligo was an absolute architect at times. He really did control the game well. Sam Berry, I thought, was really solid as well. And Josh Rochelle looked a bit like we're going to see what we expect from him as him around stoppage, but then also going forward, finished his chances well. Port Adelaide, as we always see often with Hinckley's side, they started slow, but once they got their claws into the game in the second half, they started to look a little bit better. They really did look strong in the forward line, getting the ball there early. They were looking for that extra kick. Jake Lukosius particularly running up the 60. And Mr. Darcy Byrne-Jones really popping up well. Jason Horne-Francis tried to get them going. He really wasn't an energetic point of difference. But ultimately, missed chances really allowed Adelaide to win this. And that's not a big problem, I think, for Port, because I think as the season progresses, them chances will be taken. But for Adelaide, it was definitely a sign here that they've got a real good spread. Jordan Dawson playing in that predominant midfield role, seeing the players really look to get the game going. Peatling as well looked really solid as well, adding a real strong little midfield contingent. Suddenly they look like they're ready to make the promise of that 2023 season. So let's get into them 5 takeaways that I've got. And I'm going to start with Port's forward line. I really thought this looked quite dangerous. It definitely needs consistency though, but I did like watching Jake Lukosius. When you look at Port Adelaide and they're missing Todd Marshall, that it's not their full strength forward line long term, and we don't know how Marshall's going to return, but there was some signs there for me that really gave some reassurance. I like the way he worked hard up the ground. I thought Darcy Byrne-Jones, when he got forward as well, he took his goals well. Really strong. Willie Rioli and Connor Rosie, when they slid forward, particularly Rosie, looked devastating. And Joe Richards showed some little traits. When we'll look at Port Adelaide's team, we'll look that they sold Dan Houston. Everyone will be like, oh my God, that's chaotic. But if you look at what they got for Dan Houston, they brought in a lot of younger players and a lot of talent where they needed probably some PODs. And I really did like this dynamic approach. They moved the ball pretty well. And when the ball got in there, it looked good. Some takeaways, though, were I'd like to see Jake Lukosius be a little bit more thuggish. I'd like to see him welly his weight around because he's got one hell of a booming kick on him. And when you looked at the other end of the ground, Tex Walker and Thilthorpe, they were so physical. They really made every ground ball get. You had to earn it. Particularly Tex Walker, when he roams up the 70, really comes out there and drags a defender with him. But I do feel like Port, if they can get more inside 50s and get it more contained, they really do have some firepower. And that booming kick of Jake Lukosius is going to be a pain in the arse. So that was really solid. Number 2 is Adelaide's ball movement. Last year, it felt like they were really cagey with the ball in hand, and at times it felt like they would just turn the ball over ad hoc. This game here, you really did see Peatling, a little bit of reassurity and a bit of assuredness when he uses the ball. Soligo really did stand out. He was dancing, he was controlling traffic, he was overlapping, he was looking to get the game moving, and it was so structured at times that it just felt like they were going to kill it open. When the ball got into the forward line, Thilthorpe really stood out, and he looks like he's going to have a stellar year. But also because Walker makes that really deep run, it really allowed them just to pin Port back and just pick them off when they needed to. It's a real clear sign that Adelaide's game plan is evolving, and although last year was disappointing, I thought the levels of execution in this game were really high pedigree, and I think they'll be a real tough side to watch. we all got on Adelaide's train last year. I think we may have got the wrong year, but the right destination. Number 3 was Soligo. Soligo, for me, is a player that is grossly underrated. And the young bloke not only hit the scoreboard, but his control of that when he was in the midfield was fantastic. He played the give and go. He looked for the overlap run. And add Rankine to this side and Rochelle doing that work. Also, Isaac Cumming to come back and Lachlan Scholl for the width. I really liked this game. I looked at this game and was like, okay, this guy's a pain. And I really enjoyed it. And he looks like he's ready to take a bigger role and step up. If he can maintain this form, he's definitely going to be a chance. Dan Curtin, his launch off the halfback line as well was really solid. So suddenly they've got a real dangerous transition game. And you really saw that overload run with Adelaide's midfield. They really did try and pin support back and put pressure on their back line. So I thought Soligo was a real standout because he's probably not the name that you would associate with domination for Adelaide coming out here in the East, but he was really impressive. Jason Horne-Francis continues to impress. I really enjoyed his game. In a midfield that at times was overrun, particularly in the first half, I thought his explosion, him trying to get everyone in his back and say, come with me, is really exciting. When you look at Port Adelaide, I do feel like some of the players that were missing, particularly Brendan Zirk-Thatcher, I know he's not an all-star name, but I think he would assure it a little bit down the back. Their midfield contingent of Rosie, Butters and Jason Horne-Francis, for me, is one of the most deadliest in the comp. The one question mark is, when are they moving on from Olu Wines when I watch this? I looked at Olu Wines, and for a guy that gets a lot of the ball and he's quite dangerous in himself, I feel like his distribution sometimes lets them down. And that's where Jason Horne-Francis and Butters, and particularly Rosie, really stand out. And Jason Horne-Francis wins that hard ball, but he invariably uses it well. And we're seeing a modern-day era of football where these bigger-bodied mids have to provide something. And Jason Horne-Francis's devil-may-care attitude, his attacking chains, his link-up play, the way he drives the ball forward, but his burst from stoppage is something else. And he's an absolute deadly customer. He's got goals in him as too. He looks like he's going to be a problem this year. And I'm really excited about seeing what we can do. Port Adelaide have to stop playing from behind is number 5. It felt very samey for Port. You've seen this quite a lot. They get beaten up for a quarter and then it's something like kicks into gear and they're there. And we saw the domination of Adelaide. Watching Thilthorpe, watching Soligo, watching Walker and Rochelle. They took them opportunities when they were coming in. And if you look at the first half, Port had opportunities. They were just so inefficient. And then in the latter part of the game, the ball was coming in quite regularly for them. And it's almost like they have to scramble and everything is really hard that they do when they have the talent to make it easy. And it's real fascinating. It's almost like it needs that fire starter. It needs them to get beaten up, to kick them into gear and get the ball in. And they've got so many attacking players that it almost feels like they need a reason to fight. And if they can mirror Jason Horne-Francis's attitude, that's good because it's not a sustainable way to win games. If Port want to be a genuine contender in 2025, that intensity has to be from the opening bounce. They have to dictate, they have to put the opposition behind the 8 ball and not allow them to control and go 2-1. And at times that happens quite a lot under Ken Hinckley's side. Whether that will change, we know Ken Hinckley's leaving at the end of the year. Are we going to see Josh Carr's influence? I don't know, but that is a big takeaway from me, that I think Port are a lot better side when the chips are down than they are when the chips are good. And I think that showcases in their finals results, they need to be that dominant force. So, they're the 5 big takeaways. Can Port fix their slow starts before round 1? Adelaide looking dangerous. Thilthorpe, Soligo dominating. Are they going to finally be a breakout season? And how deadly can Adelaide go? Drop your thoughts in the comments. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Hit the notification bell as well so you don't miss any of the content. Hopefully see you tonight as well on the new show, AFL Kickback, which is going to be a bit of a laid-back show. We're going to discuss these facets of what we've seen and also hopefully hear from you. If you've got a camera and a mic, hit the link and come and chat. We'll chat some footy. Peace, love and light. Pom out. Spent all my life holding all of it closely.